And we're live again on Game Changers with Vicki Abelson. And my guest today is my good friend, Korel Tunador. Korel, I'm sorry, here they see, look at what they do. They just double it, but at least now it says that I'm live with you. It still says friends only. They didn't notify people, but Korel, now I'm calling you Greg because it says
whatever you want. I'm easy, whatever you need. I'm here for you. However it needs to be, it's all good.
Korel, you're always here for me, and you'll be here for me. No, you really are. You are the consummate friend. I'm sending you in text the link, so if you want to put it on your page. People, I hate that. I hate when people say people, but I'm doing it. But it's just because Facebook is so frustrating. Korel, I spent an hour and a half this afternoon to make sure that this program was going to go public, and I had everything set, and it didn't do it anyway.
I don't even know what to say other than better you than me. I don't know how to approach this.
So we have to talk about how things have changed and what your life is like now. Before we get into like the whole career stuff, well, let's finish with the Facebook fuckery first, because we did this amazing sit down in 2018. It was like exactly 3 years ago.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And there were thousands of people with us live and hundreds of comments. And Facebook took it down. And you didn't do any covers. You did your own songs. There was no reason.
Is my writing that derivative that they flagged it? Is that what's happening? Jeez. I mean, I would hope that if it was derivative, I'd be worth like 30 million bucks. I would like monetize that. But clearly, I'm like derivative of the mediocre. Come on, Facebook. Come on.
I'm telling you, it's absolutely crazy. It says, and now I literally spent all this time so that Facebook has changed the I don't know what you call it, the
algorithm. I'd rather have no rhythm than that algorithm. I'll tell you that right now.
Their algorithm is totally fucked. It automatically, they switch it to going just to friends. I spent an hour and a half, got it to go public. It says it's going public. It still didn't go public. So 11,000, 12,000 people still don't know that we're live. So I'm going to post something right now.
A lot more people than that don't know, Vicki. A lot of people don't know. Trust me.
That is so true. But all right, so I'm posting right now. So my eyes are not where they should be on you. But I'm saying this is important. Korel, how has the pandemic impacted? So what were you doing when the lights went out? What was going on in your life?
Well, I was actually actively not traveling as it is anyway. So that's good because that didn't change. I've been voice coaching and loving not being on the road traveling. So I had just ended, as the lights went out, I just ended tour with Rob Thomas. And I have to tell you, if I had to be traveling, that was the place to do it, because it was playing for a year with those guys reignited my love for music, honestly. So it was the right people, the right way to do it. We all text several times a month. We're all even through the last 18 months, not even playing a note. We actually have a gig next week, actually, but not having played a note, we all still communicate. It's a family of people I love. So that was the best thing I could have ended with as far as before COVID, but I didn't have any plans to be like, what's the next thing? I've only been interested in Zoom voice coaching, frankly. So that dovetailed as nicely as a global catastrophe could. Although so many of my friends that I work with were musicians who were all of a sudden out of work. So of course that impacted my work. It's it's the ecosystem just tanked. So it was anything but positive. 2019 ended on a very positive note, and 2020 was looking very, very, I don't know, home. I'm going to make up a word, homeful. Instead of hopeful, it was looking very homeful for me. And it turned out to be very homeful, just a different flavor.
So tell us why you were happy to be working out of your house. Because for some people who don't know, why were you happy to be home and off the road, Korel?
Well, spending time with family and not being away. There you go. Traveling with bands is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's one of those things that if you never get to do it and you always wanted to, then you're always like, I wish I could have, I wish I could have, I wish I could have, you
Right.
would feel burned up if you would feel burned up instead of burned out. You know what I mean? You'd be spinning your gears like you never got to engage the clutch and put the motor down, right? But after almost 20 years of constant travel, I think I was away from home more than I was home for almost 20 years. So
Wow. And so for people out there who don't know, you have children. You have two little girls, gorgeous girls. And so I'm assuming not just for Julie, for your wife, and I'm sure that was a big part of it, but to parent, right? That was
Well, yeah, whenever someone very earnestly says to you, why don't you want to be home with us all summer? Like, oh my God, that's not what I meant to do when I was 17 years old joining a band. So times change and flavors change, right? But luckily,
wow.
Luckily,
did your kids say that to you?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. And in all sincerity too, like bewildered. So you're like, okay, we got to reevaluate. But even though transitions take time, that transition was already underway in my heart and head anyway. So, things take a minute to, you can't just like stop a steamship on a dime and turn it. Things arc, right? You build one thing as things taper down. So luckily for me, even before that little, torch went out, that flare went off. I was angling to build what I've moved into anyway. So it's just a matter of how long the course takes to correct. So voice coaching, I tell you, like, I'm all hyper right now. In truth, I am dead tired, exhausted, but I just had 6 voice sessions right before this, and it leaves me feeling like I just played a gig. Like I'm stoked. I'm super stoked. You know what I mean?
We're going to talk about all this voice stuff in a second. I just wanted to. So in other words, even if you didn't have kids, even if you weren't a married man, after all the years on the road, you were kind of ready to do something else anyway.
That's a hard thing to say because those are very huge.
They're huge.
So truthfully, like I like many musicians, like if you're on the road on a good gig, assuming you're with people, you could be with people that really are hard to travel with. Yeah. I've been there. You could be people that are great to travel with, and I've been there. Assuming you were with people that are great to travel with, if you didn't have a family, honestly, it's a great cush life. It's awesome. Sure, every day's a Friday or Saturday, and if it's on a tour where you like the music and you like the people, I can't say I would. It's not like I don't enjoy playing music. It's right. It's just it's all knitted. It's all been knitting together as it's been knitting together. One thing affects the other, I think.
So I have like so many questions. I don't even. First of all, I think I made you make your sound a little hot. Everybody tell me how, by the way, Marsha Harvey says you are an awesome voice coach.
Oh, Marsha.
And
Marsha.
Dan Swanson says, hey, man. And all the COVID crazies are here sending you love and saying hello.
Oh, thanks.
And so speaking of COVID crazy, so what did the COVID look like in the Tunador household? Like, how did you guys handle the pandemic when it started? How did your life change?
Well, I got one of these industrial shrink wrappers, and we would just step into it every morning.
No, you're laughing. I had a body size baggie. That's how I hugged my son and my boyfriend, literally in a baggie. So it's not no seriously.
I know.
What did you guys? Okay, so your kids had already started school.
Well, we don't know it all. Well, yes. So there was one day. Guess what? We went to school. We follow the news, but things snow pretty quickly. So one day we went to school and it was, okay, by the way, here's your stuff. We're like, oh, so we're not seeing you Monday? No, we'll don't call us. We'll call you. It was one of those things. And then, it's been 18 months and we're just getting back into it. So no, we just call it, to dial down the adrenaline behind it. We just called it home time. It's been home time for a while now. That's that.
So how did you handle homeschooling? Who did that? You or Julie?
I don't even know how to answer that question. First of all, it was
there was no schooling going on.
Well, I mean, the demands of kindergarten are different than the algebra student. So let's just say that. So,
yes.
As best as we could is the answer.
Yes, you're lucky that you had kindergarten, because can you imagine if you had homeschool, the geography, like they're like in 1962. But
Mhm.
algebra, geometry, could you imagine? That would have been horrific.
Nope.
Were you a good math
I'll ask,
student?
I'll ask my siblings about that.
Were you a good student? Were you a good math student?
um, you know, I I wasn't an exemplary math student, but when I had a teacher who was engaged in the process themselves,
Hmm.
was good at it. And then when I
Ah,
didn't, I was like, I could be like down in the band room, like jamming with my buddies. This is lame. I was like, you know what I mean? So it was a little bit reactionary dependent upon the environment. Let's say that.
okay, that's fair. I think musicians, as a rule, though, especially a multi-instrumentalist like you, um, your brain. They say music is good for the brain, for the math brain, and all of that stuff, right?
They say that. They say a lot of things. I'm obviously not the scientist, but I would say um, that from what I've learned, I don't subscribe to the music is math specifically. You know,
Okay,
sure, we can count to eight. If you're fancy, you count to seven or five, sure. But it's more about the spatial relations. That's what I would say.
right, right,
Playing
right, right.
music is more about, hey, we're thinking in 3D. So
Mm,
when you're playing music, your medium, instead of painting on the canvas, is actually time.
ah,
I don't know if you ever thought
okay.
about it like that. I'm not trying to be all silly, and I'm not trying to be obvious to musicians out there too. But so just as a matter of fact, the medium for music isn't notes. That is the paint. Paint is loud air, right?
Okay.
The medium is actually time.
Wow.
So for someone to learn to play music at a young age, they're thinking spatially up and down, faster, slower as far as the amount of volume, velocity, faster, slower as they integrate over a course of time. So that's what's good for your spatial relationships development.
Blonde, you lost me a long time ago.
Well, also, I could be completely BSing and making this up, which is fair.
It works for me. I'm using my fabulous blue
Oh, I
UX,
love
by the
them.
way.
Hmm.
Kevin Walt, we love you.
I've
Um,
got the I've got the Encore 300 right here. There you go.
there you go.
Which is great, by the way. Yeah,
For some reason, your sound is now only coming through one of my ears. I don't know what the hell is going on today.
I don't
I,
either.
I don't know what's going on. Erica Freeburger says all your
Oh,
Pittsburgh people send their love.
Erica Freiberger. Oh,
Freiburger.
she is another angel. Pittsburgh, I got to tell you what, you need to go there. You will find a home quickly amongst all the coolest, most creative, just ecosystem. It's awesome.
My boyfriend from some years ago went to college in Pittsburgh, although and he was a musician, and so Tony Vincent says, I don't have a mic, I just yell. Yeah. I don't need a mic, I can just yell, but I'm doing it because Kevin tells me that I sound better out there when I use a blue microphone, a
Of
Yeti
course you
X.
do. Yeah.
So all right, so did you guys, all right, you have little kids. What happened to play dates? What did you have little kids? What the hell are you doing with that? It must be crazy in your house
Well, yeah,
then.
yeah, that's a word for it. Absolutely.
How did they entertain them? Did they entertain themselves? What did you do?
Um, well, we have a trampoline now.
Ah, good
All
one.
sorts of things that I'm sometimes in the moment like, what? We have a kid-sized drum set now.
Oh, nice.
So, not always my ideas, but I'm good on the making her ideas happen as best as I can, and they end up being good ideas. So, yeah, anything to get the yayas out, as I would say.
So there were no broken bones and no broken ear drums through the making of that pandemic, huh?
Yeah,
That's
so far.
those are so. Are you grooming little musicians over there?
Um, I don't know if I would say grooming, but they know where the piano is, they know where the guitars are, and it's just part of their environment.
And do they go over? Are they like playing around?
Um, yes, although especially one thing with all of that, they don't want to learn piano from me. Put it that way. It's like, so we can do this. No, 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 I can do it better. That sort of thing. That's about as quick as it goes. So now that it's opened up a little bit, and if we're being smart with the right people, I'm actively looking for a third party piano teacher, just to be someone who's new into the
It,
dynamic.
Corel, it is that way. My daughter is a grown woman and I was a drama teacher and she's an actress. She doesn't want,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah.
Now, anything I say the opposite.
I do feel that piano kids should, I feel like every kid, if possible, should learn piano lessons though, should take piano lessons though, absolutely. And over other instruments. I know that like, well, learn violin, learn this and that. Nothing's wrong. There's no wrong answers.
Right.
But with a piano,
Yeah.
you have like on a violin or a saxophone or a trumpet, they're all, single note instruments.
Right.
So you can get the linear things, you get your dexterity, you train the ear, all these wonderful things.
Right.
On the piano, you've got the melody, you've got the bass, you've got the harmony in the middle. There's only one of each key. On a guitar, there's the same note stretched out every 5 frets. Same thing with cello, every 7 positions, whatever. On a piano, there's only one of each note. So as a child, this is that note, and I see how everything is interacting with each other thing.
Wow.
There's no like, well, you could play it here. Well, which is it? There's none of that. There's like you physically, visually see the contrary motion counterpoint at the same time as you're hearing it. I think it's just the perfect instrument for a child to learn first.
I love that. My kids did have piano lessons for a short time, and I didn't have a piano when we moved out here. I have one now that's sitting there not being played. But okay. So Greta, does Greta play?
She's very musical, but again, it's on their terms right now.
Well, but that's okay
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's time.
They
You'll
write
get the.
they write a cappella songs. It's singing all day long a cappella.
Okay, now
songs.
how old? Greta's how old and Neela's how old?
Gonna
How
be
old?
seven next week and 4 in November. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So time flies.
Yep.
So for you, piano was where you started?
Yep. And Suzuki piano, which is I think another thing that I would encourage anyone. I don't know if that was like the the takeaway of this part of it. I think Suzuki is a method. It's a Japanese method
Right.
where it's ear training based, but it's classical music. So you're learning the traditional harmony of European classical music, for better or worse. That's just a good solid starting point. But they learn it by ear. So nobody learns to read and write by reading and writing. You learn to read and write by listening to an adult do it for years before you can make an attempt.
I love that because they try to,
Yeah.
everything has been about going right to the book
Mhm.
and right to the notes. And
Yeah,
it's like learning a language as well. When
exactly.
it's conversational, it's so much easier than when you're
So,
sitting
yep.
there trying to learn the grammar and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I
So in
totally agree.
Suzuki, they would back in the day give you a cassette or a CD, or now I'm sure it's just download this or that. But
Right.
your homework for next week is to listen to an adult playing this song 20 times a day. That's your homework. 20 times a day, listen
Wow.
to this one song, and the adult plays it with dynamics and emotion and delicacy. And before you even try to play it, you know what it should sound like, so that you're not just shooting in the dark.
So now, is that how you learned?
Mm-hmm. For better, I mean, I could have been a lot better, but yeah.
No, I mean, come on. Look at the offshoot of it, of everything else that you do musically. But so now, okay, explain this to me because I love this. If you're doing the Suzuki method and
Mhm.
you're listening, how do you know where to put when you're learning? How do you know where to put your hands?
Well, I mean, you would learn what it sounds like before you ever try it, but then you would work with your teacher, and
Okay.
so it's systematically.
So you're kind of memorizing where your hands go, but you're listening to the rhythm of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect a 4-year-old to, sit down and play the song just because they heard it, but that would be, but before the teacher shows you fingerings and where to go, and before you're worried about dots on a paper, you know what you're actually doing, what you want it to sound like.
Okay, so now from what I recall, you didn't love taking those piano lessons when you first
Well,
started doing it.
like any kid, practice a half a day, practice,
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes a day. What 8-year-old wants to do that, necessarily, but, and that's a thing that I think any parent really, it's a question, is this going to be someone's career? Can't know that at that age. Is it going to
Right.
be, so people have an option to make it an extracurricular or something like, soccer practice. Well, no, you're not skipping soccer practice. You committed to this season, you're doing it.
Right,
So
right.
I think that, if that was a choice, that it would be like, no, this is what we're doing. You don't have to take it forever, but this is, you do your homework, you do your practice, just incorporate it, brushing your teeth. Like no one, does every kid want to brush their teeth every day? Maybe not, but it's just what you do. So I don't
Yeah.
think there's a one size fits all, and I certainly don't have the answers, but those are just the ways I would think about it.
No, that totally makes sense, and I get it and agree. So so that's how you. So when you were being parented,
Hmm.
what did it look like? Like, so did you have to sit down and practice a certain amount of
Yeah, yeah.
hours?
All my siblings did. Everyone did. It was just part of your daily routine. You just had to do it, and
And
not
you
everyone.
and you all ended up being musical, didn't you?
Musical. Not everyone did it as a career at all. But everyone has. All of my siblings have that sort of as part of their ear and their dialogue, and can sit down and pick something out if they want to, or if they wanted to learn, they certainly could. You know. But they're all way more successful. So there you go. So they made the right choice. But no,
Well,
but it's just part of the dialogue of, every kid doesn't want to be an athlete, but every kid goes to gym class. And every kid, doesn't want to be a writer, but every kid goes to library and learns to read and writes book reports. It's just part of I think, your development, maybe.
I think that's a really good. So how many siblings are there?
5 total.
Wow. Okay, so I know about Gildan, and she's a writer,
And
and
musician as
then
well, songwriter. She's got an awesome record she's working on right now, actually. Yeah.
fantastic. And
hmm
tell us, and your other siblings, what are they doing?
Two of them are in DC. My big brothers are mortgage bankers, and yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and they're
Yeah.
gonna finance my record label, right? Um, Dudes. And my little brother is, oh gosh, this is always the question. What do you do? Works with anything from sort of transgender social networks, to in the prison systems, to helping
Wow.
people sort of, what was the name for when you're getting out of prison? Exfiltration? No, I don't know. I'm just making stuff
Uh,
up now.
I know what you
Getting out and
when.
adjusting to real life. Yeah, my little brother, basically, he kicks all sorts of ass on the social front, and I can't
How
really keep track of
fabulous is
it.
that?
And that's not because I don't pay attention, because every month I'm like, so again, I just wanted to ask you, what do you do? And I just can't keep it straight. That's no offense.
No, I love that, and that's really important work, and that's really
Yeah,
fantastic. I'm
totally,
excited to
totally.
hear that. So okay, so back, somebody's asking, you're jumping way ahead of me. Angela Silver Cozen is saying, what's next for you? We're not up to transitioning. Marcia says transitioning. Well, transitioning can mean a lot of things, but yes, transitioning from prison to life. But there is a word
Mhm.
specifically when it's from
Yeah,
prison to uh anyway, it'll come 15 seconds and I ain't waiting. Paul Williams says that it eventually comes.
I'll just check
So,
it.
Angela, we'll get to your question about what's he going to do next, because we haven't talked about what he's done so far, and we're going to start
Ah,
there.
who
But so,
cares?
Carell, are your parents musical? Where did it all come from? All of
Yeah,
this?
yeah. My dad says he played when he was young, but then he was, sent to the math front, become an engineer. And my mom was a pianist. My I have two moms. So one is played piano teaching school, and the
Wow.
other, my mom was a organist, classical organist as well.
So both of them with the keys.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So you were going there. There was no way you weren't going
Well,
there.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, for better or worse, it's the only thing I liked doing enough to keep doing it. How's that sound?
I like it. I like it. Okay, so all right, but before we get back into the whole career thing, let's go back to the COVID thing. How careful, how COVID crazy were you guys? Um,
Pretty crazy. No, I don't. Well, crazy or reasonable, huh?
well,
What's our where's our slant on this, right?
I'm COVID crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't leave the house for months. I was nuts.
hmm
But so did you go shopping? Did you go to the store? Did you?
Oh no, but that's for the better. Oh my gosh, delivering groceries. If it's something that's, in your area or economically viable, it is a little bit more because there's these fees and you sneak up on them.
Right.
But if it's holy crap, I don't want to go to stores. Come
Oh
on,
my, I
you know.
know.
So yeah, no, we didn't for a long time. We just hung tight and did our thing. And frankly, the certain things, obviously we wish this never happened, but the certain things that aren't going to ever go back, like if you want to go to Target, you can order it and they bring it out to your car and put it in your trunk. Kidding me? Come on now. They should have done that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, yeah, that sort of thing. No, I didn't worry. I didn't go out much.
Yeah. So with a gig coming up, okay, so how is this? Have you flown yet?
I flew once for a family wedding in Virginia, and obviously when I went to Pittsburgh and drove down, we quarantined and tested and the whole thing.
When
And
was that, Corel?
I don't know,
Was it?
May or June. Oh, it was over Memorial. It was May. Yeah, end of May.
So we'd already been a year into the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I
Oh,
hadn't
oh.
flown anywhere, but I don't know that I would have at one point. We did drive out to Colorado to see family over Christmas at the end of 2020, and we made sure we were smart about it and respectful. So we drove to get out of Dodge a bit and head to the mountains. But then I have flown once, and I'm flying again next week to New York. But I'll just be responsible, mask up, and do my best. And I think before our gig, there's protocols in place. Everyone's going to do a rapid test the day before and the day of, that sort of thing.
Right, right. And so you're vaccinated, I assume.
Hmm.
So is there concern with with Greta going to school about, well, Neela must be going to school too now.
Yeah, preschool. Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, um, of course, there's concern because anything unknown. Heck, I'm afraid of a freaking coffee table. So yeah, there's concern.
Do the kids have, okay, so you guys have recently moved. Do the kids have to wear a mask at school, or is it not a thing?
Yeah, these ones up here, they're doing it masking in school, and that's actually I think because it's the state. That's just what the state of California is saying. So yeah, it's optional outside, but it's mandatory indoors is what the whole state is doing.
And how are your kids with wearing masks? Do they think it's cool, or does it bother them?
No, nobody likes it. Who does? I mean, whatever you think of, and we could go down the political rabbit hole. We probably shouldn't. Just not only, I don't even care what people think, but like just to keep my blood pressure down, frankly. But not like anyone likes it. Holy cow!
Right, right.
Except for
Well,
the fact that I haven't brushed my teeth in 18. No, no, not exactly that. But I don't have to get all done up as I used to, maybe, but yeah, no one likes it. They certainly don't.
but you know what another upside I think is of this whole masking thing? Like, have you had a cold in the last year and a half?
No, and granted, I
Yeah.
hope that people coming up, young kids, still get their biomes built.
Mm.
So there's that. But yeah, I mean, people in Asia have been wearing masks with colds for generations, and it's just sensible and respectful to a certain extent.
Mhm.
Obviously, this was a seismic event, so there's going to be fallout in a 360-degree sphere around all of this. Good, bad, welcome, unwelcome, just what it is.
So what's
I'm certainly not the sage we should be. Maybe I am. Maybe I've got it right. Everyone out there can suck it. I've got the answers. There. That's the truth.
Well, while we've got the opportunity, because we're here, everybody, I hope you're going to vote. Corel, you're voting, I assume. You're going to vote no on that recall, I hope.
Oh, you know what? I will vote on it, but I'll tell you the truth. I've been in day to day that I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
A friend of mine worked at a news network a bunch of years ago, and there's actually a word that escapes me for the demographic I fall into, which
Okay.
is I go national news, which California recalls national news, but like I go national and world news, and
Right.
I'm oblivious of anything on the local level completely.
Okay, well,
So
you need to get oblivious.
I know.
Because the vote is like next week, and
Okay.
the deadline is September 14th, and it's really important because what's happening is there's an incredible amount of Democratic apathy out there.
Hmm.
Even though we're a Democratic state, we could lose this, and then the House goes down, then everything crumbles with it,
Ah,
and we lose abortion, and we lose climate control, we lose gun control, we lose all kinds of rights and freedoms. So it's really important. It's a really important election. So,
noted.
and I know it's really hard to stay political when we had to be political for 4 years and watch all that shit. And it's like, no more, but we have to right now. It's really important. So so get oblivious. And, okay. So what kind of gig are you doing? So Rob Thomas freaked me out because there he was with Carlos on the stage in
Oh
New
yeah.
York in front of
Hmm.
60,000 people. I know they were masking and doing everything backstage, but Jesus Christ, all those people out there. You're not doing one of those, are you?
No, no. And by the way, Rob is like on pretty much every level. He is as responsible and aware. Like he's not going to take advantage of something that doesn't feel right. So
Right.
I don't know the details of that show in the audience,
Yeah.
but I know he's pretty responsible as far as that goes. So no, we're doing it's a TV taping for something he has coming up that we won't be aired for a few months, like over the holidays.
Uh-huh.
So we're just all gonna go play, a half dozen songs in a theater or somewhere. That I think they changed the venue in basically for a TV taping. So it's not a show. It's a little closed thing that'll be aired later.
Cool. Well, I just want you to be safe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So how do you go into New York? It's a long flight. You got to take your mask off. You got to drink. You got to eat.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. I'm a camel.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Good. I like that. You just stuff your face before you get on
Yeah,
the plane and all
exactly.
that stuff. Yeah. Okay. I like it. All right. So let's get back to Korel. So your parents were musical, and then you start on piano, not your favorite thing, but you do it.
Well, yeah, it wasn't not my favorite thing. It was what there was. It wasn't that I loved playing piano or playing music. Um, you know, sometimes you'd rather be out running around and you had your chores to do. So it was more like that sometimes. But obviously, I kept doing it enough to build some inertia. How's that?
Absolutely, you did. And so how old were you when you started to read and when it started to all make sense?
You know what? It's a little cloudy because it was more than 5 years ago. But
It
but
was.
yeah. I mean, I remember. It would be hard for me to say. It was, you do it, and over the course of the first couple of years, you're reading music, and it's a very disciplined study. It's just more that I was, listening to all the new wave and rock and roll bands that my older brothers and sister were playing, and so that's kind of where I wanted to head.
Okay, so what
Eventually.
was the music that had your ear when you were a kid? Like what excited you? Who excited you musically?
Well, what's funny is that so obviously my older siblings were the only influences I had,
Right.
and or whatever friends, but it was their older siblings who were my older siblings' friends. So it's just
Right.
that scene. So it was either my dad playing classical music and jazz only, and
Mm.
my older brothers and sisters. This was back in the whatever Tears for Fears, Talking Heads, The Clash, like that sort of thing. So, but what's interesting though, in the pre-internet bubble, especially in suburban Pittsburgh, whatever, it sounds crazy, but if you understand that, like, I've still not seen most of the Disney movies. Like, I've not seen Bambi, Snow White, Cinderella, and any of that classic stuff, Pinocchio. I know the stories, I know the idea. I've never seen them.
Even with your
Okay.
kids?
No, we've seen. Well, now you look back and they're like, "Oh boy, whoa, 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 she's gonna bite it." We don't do no. They've to my chagrin seen some of the newer stuff, but which was not they had not until freaking 2020. By the way, we were a pretty darn
Right.
media free household, like strictly, but
Wow.
those walls have crumbled a little bit. But um, the so back then, if it wasn't immediately in my house, and there was no record store within walking distance, so
Oh,
whatever they played, and we'd tape stuff off the radio, whatever. So all of that, new wave, rock and roll, whatever, U2, all the bands you would expect,
right.
maybe on the cooler side, they were into. Um, but I wasn't until my second year of music school. So I'd already done a whole year of music school playing jazz and whatever. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I'm playing all this jazz and saxophone, but I should probably, like, I didn't listen to, Tom Waits and all this music, Tom Petty and all this stuff. I should probably play guitar and sing. Huh? Yeah, I probably should. It was at the end of it was the beginning of my second year of music college that I heard my first Beatles records all the way through.
Oh, stop.
Because whatever reason, I'm going to go admonish my siblings for that. They just wasn't literally physically in the house. You weren't streaming on Spotify. It just wasn't there. So the
Wow.
gaps, I mean, I had Pink Floyd. I didn't have the Beatles. We had whatever had, so
Well, your siblings are of the next generation of me. They're of a younger generation than I am.
Mhm.
So I kind of get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Um,
if your parents weren't actively, like, my dad wasn't a pop music listener, so there you go. He would have
right.
been of the generation that would have had it. but he was more in classical
Oh
world.
God,
Or,
that
you know what
really
I mean?
hurts, by the way.
But you know what? You know what? It was.
I
You know
am in
why it
your
was good?
father's generation.
Do you know why it was good?
Why?
Because for me, maybe not for everybody, but
Yeah,
so
right.
many people have grown up with the Beatles that it's
Yeah.
just what was playing, and they've been told this is great, this is great, this is great, and they grow up, oh great, great, okay, but they grow up with all this.
Yeah.
I had
And the
been
downside of that is,
There's no downside to that because
okay.
now my kids are growing up with it, but I hadn't heard any of it, and I was already writing songs with my local band in Boston. I was already playing gigs, jazz gigs, pop, whatever. And then when I had heard my first Abbey Road all the way through from start to finish, Let It Be all the way through from start to finish, I had already had, for better or worse, strongly formed opinions about what I liked in music.
Hmm.
And then when I heard the Beatles records all the way through, especially my favorite ones, I was like, holy shit, they were right. And I was able to embrace them like with fresh ears that were also more experienced. So I was able to,
Interesting.
I think, objectively vouch for them as opposed to just being like, this is what I was told I should like.
I appreciate that, and I hear what you're saying. But for me, as like an 8-year-old who heard them for the first time, I didn't care what anybody. I mean, I knew what I liked. It didn't
Yeah.
matter what anybody else was telling me.
Well, yeah,
So,
but that's because it's also objectively great. So you were right.
because it's objectively great. That's
Right.
right. I mean, it's
But I just,
really hard to
yeah.
find fault with the Beatles
Yeah,
with their
exactly.
music, anyway. So okay, so you didn't start playing guitar until your second year of music. So wait, so you're playing piano, but I know there were other instruments
I mean,
involved
I just
before
kind
you
of
got.
honestly, I just bopped around. Is the truth. I grew up playing piano, played some in bass in some rock bands, played saxophone in high school. Just what a kid would do. Nothing crazy.
Well, so how
Um,
did you? But didn't you do like orchestra and stuff in school that you like?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I played saxophone for that stuff because that's just what was
Okay, now
available.
wait, from what I recall, you couldn't get the saxophone, just like I couldn't get the flute, and
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
to
in junior.
start with something else.
Yeah. Oh, I started with like fifth grade clarinet. Didn't really
Yeah,
love it. Seventh
I
grade
had that too.
tuba. Didn't really love it. And
Yeah.
then when I was in eighth grade, they let me play saxophone. And this is like I was saying I bopped around, but my music teacher, Mr. Rowland, my high school music, maybe he's watching for all we know, Clem. He's influenced some of even where I came from in Pittsburgh. Like some of the greatest players in town were his proteges and now his peers. He's still very active playing. He's one of the most influential teachers I have. Because of his theory classes in high school. When I went to music college, I tested out of like 2.5 years of college just based on what I
Wow.
learned in high school. And
Wow.
that wasn't like my kid piano lessons. That was this one specific teacher,
Tell me his name again.
Clem Roland. He's probably on the friends list somewhere. He's awesome. You love him. He's great. Um, he's
It's
so
it's really important to shout out teachers who've had
Yeah,
this
heck
kind of
yeah. And I've
impact.
told him that. But I've told him that many times. He's extremely influential. Um, and he would always deliver his information as a peer. Like, yeah, some teachers try to be cool. Like, hey kids, I've got a new haircut. You know what I mean? Like, isn't this what was on the cover of Teen Vogue? You know what? I don't even know. I'm making this shit up. But like, he was a guy who was just like, hey man, hey, so I played a gig the other night. Oh, you should have been there. Oh, as a teacher, but he
Wow.
was sincere. So he would take me out at age 16 and, we'd go sit in with his band at the local restaurant pub gig when he would do that gigs that my folks
Wow.
could get me into. So he was very influential.
Wow. I love that. Oh, and you're that kind of teacher, I'm going to assume that
Oh, no way. Like,
I mean,
ask Marcia. Ask Marcia. Come on.
Marsha, you can't say Marsha without thinking of the Brady
I
Bunch,
know.
right? Is it possible? It's not even possible. And another one of your friends is saying something here. You and Jeff had Van Halen. Who just said that?
Oh, is that
Mandy
Jeff?
said that.
Oh, Mandy Newport. Yeah, her big brother Jeff was one of my best friends for a long time. He introduced me to Van Halen. And years later, when I got to hang out with Eddie Van Halen, we hadn't spoken to Jeff in a long time. We hadn't been,
Right.
it was life, you know what I mean? But
Right, right.
and I was like, yeah, I texted him immediately. I was like, dude, and that was something, that wasn't like something like to trumpet everywhere, but I was just like the one guy who I grew up with. It was like,
Wow.
you will get this because you know what that's meant to us when we were in eighth grade, dude.
Wow.
It was,
Did you
yeah. What's
did
that?
you tell that to Eddie?
No, no.
You had to be cool with Eddie. I got
Yeah,
you.
well,
Yeah. Okay. So how did something, okay, what would you say is your primary instrument? Because you've got a lot. What's your primary instrument
well, this is
now?
where you have to trust me, where I'm not being self-deprecating. I'm being the way I feel it is just honest.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I would say like strumming acoustic guitar and writing songs and singing.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah. I
Um,
can take that.
my primary interest instrument would just be maybe my voice as a singer, I guess, especially since I'm teaching it.
Yes.
Singing and songwriting is the one thing that has always been sort of, when I discovered it, what always had my heart. And everything else is just tools to get there. Like, I'm not going to go play the jazz piano gig. I would not hire myself for that. I'm not going to go shred in the metal band on guitar. I wouldn't hire myself for that if I had a choice to. But I can, or at least so far, have been able to
Doug
bring.
says slide whistle is your primary
I'm
instrument.
actually pretty. Do I have my slide whistle? I don't think I have it. I'm pretty decent at slide whistle. Who's Doug? What Doug is that?
Doug Corey.
Oh,
Corey?
Yeah. Oh,
Corey?
he knows. He's got some stories to tell. That guy. He is a rapscallion of a front man. And I played some duct tape in his band.
Oh,
Yeah, we had fun.
hysterical.
So to me, like, they're all tools, and I somewhat let's say this: if you had to describe my technique,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a virtuoso. I would say I'm more hedge clipping.
Oh, you are so self-deprecating.
No,
Okay, but wait.
it's
You've
in
been-
the scheme of things, you go ask
Yeah.
Lauren Gold. In the scheme of our friends that you and I have, let's go
Lauren
ask.
says hi, by the way.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, great.
And
you
so does
like,
Snuffy Walden. You get hellos
oh
from
my
people.
God. See,
Yes.
like, so you mean online or in general? In general, they're
No,
not
they told me to tell you.
Oh, great, thanks.
Yeah,
No, those guys,
Yeah.
I put, even though Snuffy can put some grit into it, you think he's just on the edge, but his technique is boom,
Yeah.
he's there. Lauren, of course, is freaking next level pianist, right? I'm absolutely not those guys on any one instrument, but I kind of like look at, okay, what does the song need flavor wise that's not happening now, and can I make that part happen? And so I'll bring in whatever tools I need, hopefully with good tone, hopefully with good taste and touch and feel, and empathy to the songwriter to sort of put your parts in there. So that's one of
Right.
the biggest tools, is like, can you treat someone else's songs as if it was yours?
I love that.
And so I think I'm like overly empathetic, and I have enough skills to be dangerous and moderately employable as far as being a hired
And
musician.
so when you get hired, Corel, and I
Mhm.
know you've done a lot of different music and a lot of genres, and we're going to go through them, but primarily, what would you say you have been like saxophone, keyboard player? What are you primarily hired as?
Yeah, like usually the keyboard guitar singer. So I'm not really a sports guy, but if I was a baseball player, I'd probably be shortstop, where it's like, where's the hole where's the hole? Like, someone's playing bass, someone's playing drums, someone's playing the guitar, and then there's these 5 other parts on the record that aren't being done. So I pick the most important ones and put them into the song. So I've usually been like the multi.
You're the utility.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The fluid, as I said last time, the fluid instrumentalist. But okay, so let's say when you go in the studio with people,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do all of these instruments, what are you most likely to do in the studio, would you say?
That's a good question, because the way, especially with the economy is, I'm not like a hired studio gun guy, right?
Okay.
Because everyone that would be, you'd hire just the keyboard player who's got the 30 vintage synths and the play, and then you go, so when I'm in the studio with people that I'm in my best element, it's when it would be like a film scoring session. And you're
Ah,
like, okay, there's a toy piano, there's a clave, there's a, so it'd be, again, what I bring to any band is like, what does the production need?
I love that.
So if we want to program a hi-hat to, like, this would be the part though. So I'm more of a thinking of, I think I have a really strong sense of melody,
Hmm.
and I think I have a really strong sense of texture.
Hmm.
So again, like in the studio, I wouldn't hire myself to, like, hey, we're throwing down, I don't know, let's just say we're throwing down a bunch of keyboards for the next Bruno Mars record. I wouldn't hire myself for that per se. But it
Oh,
was like,
you are
well,
hard on yourself.
no, I'm just being honest with what I would hire
Yeah.
myself for. I would say, like, hey, we're sketching out a bunch of demos that are going to turn into the record, and we're creating the piece. I would rather be involved on that level, where it's like creating something with someone. Like, if you're a studio guy, hey, here's the part, create it, as opposed to maybe being in the genesis of something. I'm just telling you where
I
I
see.
feel like I'm of most value. Um, you know, certainly people send me stuff and I throw keyboard parts down them, send them back. A person, a client was sending me his record and wasn't super good at creating harmonies, vocal harmonies.
Mhm.
So I did a whole guy's record where they sent me stems of the tracks of the record
Right.
and the lead vocal, and I
Uh-huh.
would sing like a mini choir and all the harmonies to the verse and the chorus and send them back to them. Then he would sing them all in his own voice, but he didn't know how to
Uh-huh.
compose them. So think I'm better on that level, like actually melodically creating and texturally adding things, as opposed to, you know what I mean?
I
So
get you.
if we were, I wouldn't go to myself for heart surgery, but I might go to myself for a holistic wellness plan that is maybe preventing the surgery because we just had the ergonomics in place. Is
I
that
love that.
using way too many metaphors?
No, I real
Okay.
I totally get that, and I'm coming
Yeah.
to you for holistic treatment next week.
Okay.
So so voice. When did you realize that you could say? How did voice happen? Are you a trained vocal? I mean, now you are,
I would
but
think I'm a trained now. But yeah, so I was playing in bands, and luckily, the first real band that I played with when I went to Boston, I was playing saxophone, and this is back in the day when the jam band scene was coming up, and
oh yeah,
so having a saxophone in a bar band was just okay. We have one, it was a horn, but you don't want a saxophone on every song, so I started playing acoustic guitar, and the guys in the band that I was playing with, which were just a couple years older than me at the time, or there was a lot of harmonies, and of course I could sing on pitch, but I'd never really gigged singing. So
uh-huh.
I got to play in a band with some buddies who were really encouraging,
Hmm.
and and actually Bill Guerra is now he's one of the GMs at the Paradise Rock Club in Boston, and he's still a good buddy and good close friend of mine. JT the drummer is still a good close friend of mine. The guys in my band were really encouraging as I was just like a few years younger than them, but
So now, at
when you're
what
like
stage of your
seven,
life is this? How old are
I'm like
you?
18 or
Okay.
19, you
Uh-huh.
know. So I started just singing harmonies on the microphone in the bars. But it's a great way to have real world training of how do you work a mic, how much gain you how much signal do you send through the mic that it's going to cut through the bar and you're going to be able to hear yourself, and are you over singing, are you under singing, all those real world things I just did for years, and we would have pretty, for the time, for our age, for the time, pretty intricate harmonies, and it was pretty tight what we were doing vocally. So, and I'd already obviously been a musician and I knew
Right.
what parts would work, so I was active in what we were doing, but I was the least experienced vocalist out of the three vocalists we had in our band. So luckily I had two guys in a band with who were just a few years ahead of me, who were both singing leads, and I would just basically became a strong, you know, background harmony singer as
Hmm.
an ensemble, and then started singing lead from there with those guys.
And so, at what point did you start studying? I know you had to study voice because you teach voice. So, at what point did this become like an instrument for you?
Well, I only had voice lessons a couple times. Once in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, our friend Beth Clausen, all my friends like Erica, everyone knows this woman, Beth Clausen. She's my first voice teacher.
Mhm.
She's just an energizer bunny of sunshine and vitamins, right? So I took voice lessons with her,
Uh-huh.
long time ago, and that was the first, like, okay, I was like singing in our bands, right? But it just sort of helped me level up a bit, where I was like, okay, the difference between, certainly I'm a lot better now than I was then, but that's just because I've been singing for, ever since, right? So she's the
Hmm.
first person who helped me sort of get in touch with it on a different level of like, I don't know, maybe like, just fixing up your posture, really sending it,
Right.
I mean that metaphorically, we would talk about posture, of course, but I mean
Yes.
in a sense of, she really was the first person to help me focus on it in a different way and level up. And then I just kept gigging, and I moved out to LA, and obviously, and I wasn't taking lessons through all those years of traveling. There's a couple of times I went to, some of the celebrity voice coaches out here and did some lessons, but it never really stuck. And then when I was playing with the Goos, and Johnny introduced me to his voice coach Dave, who you and I've talked about, Dave Stroud, who
Hmm.
that was when I met him. It was hey Vicki, it was game changing. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, no, it was he was the first person I met in my like actual professional life out here that was not only doing it at a high level that
Hmm.
he's at, but in an empirically high level too, science based, informed through study and reading and constantly learning. And so he taught me about teaching and about how the voice works in it. So I'd taken voice lessons with Beth as a singer, back in the day, and then I sang for a long time. And so she set me up on a trajectory to be a good singer, or at
Right.
least good, a better, get better and better, and have the tools to sort of self-improve. And then when I met him, I was able to, oh, now let's look at relationships in a different way as well. And that was like to become a actual teacher was the intent when I started working with him to get in the get-go. Because I don't know, like at that point, I'd always been sort of the guy in the groups that I would play with who was very harmony based and very, oh, we're ending our word. When you sing together, are we ending our words at the same point? Or, and it's not always verbal. I'm just saying that oftentimes when I would be hired to sing with people with different groups or different, acts around town, there would more often than not be favorable, wow, we really sang good together. But you might be a singer-songwriter female, you might be a blues guy, you might be a this or that, but I'm able to sing with different people is it turned out really well. And it's only because, again, it's the empathy and the attention to detail, whether it was conscious or not. But if someone's saying love and you're saying love, it's love. How are we shaping our vowels together, and are we ending together? And if you're singing, I don't know, Tunador, like well, the lead singer is going to sing that T. People singing with them might sing it more as a D because you don't need, So I'm just been in that zone.
All right, I have a bunch of follow-up questions on this since we're here. And
Okay.
by the way, Tova's saying, can you teach over Zoom? And you can. Yes.
That's all I do. I haven't seen
That's all you do.
Yeah, that's all I do, and I love it. By the way, I was in Colorado and Pittsburgh and Virginia. I'm in Ojai now. I haven't. Zoom is Zoom. The good thing about voice, and by the way, so to back up just a second,
Yeah.
and when I met Dave Stroud, who taught me, who got me started, and has been more gracious than I could have ever imagined with his knowledge, and also like introducing me to a whole network of people who were voice teachers around the world who are
Wow.
looking at the empirical, and then there's this group called Vocology and Practice that I work with, that I work on the board with, and these people that I've been introduced to through Dave, it's been everything I could have ever dreamed of. As far as, it's not a pedagogy, it's a bunch of people all have experts in their areas. There might be someone who's like really into the breathing, mechanics of the breathing and the way the intercostals interplay with this, and then efficiency and airflow resistance. Then someone else is very much into the science of neurological learning, and someone else is very much into performance. So there's there's this ecosystem of voice teachers that I've been lucky enough to meet, who it's just a wealth of knowledge. So I'm just, doing my best to be the eternal student of that stuff, and hopefully, glean some of off as it comes. As we
Okay, so now, Korel, can you teach someone to sing?
Well, that's almost an intentionally loaded question. The way
It
you
is.
say
It's
that.
it's a very intentionally loaded question, because I'm just wondering. Let's say somebody said, by the way, when you were doing your voice before, that it sounded like Jerry Lewis, which is very funny, Linda. So let's say somebody comes to you and they don't particularly have what we would call off the shoot, out of the chute talent. What do you do with someone like that? Can you teach someone like that?
Almost always, yes. Now there is
Wow.
there is a such thing as what you would call tone deafness, right? And different people have different names for it.
Tony just asked, can you fix pitch problems?
Absolutely.
Which is,
but it's not like you turn a switch. And to back up again, because we didn't get to answer it, I have this OCD thing about like not leaving. Like if you text me and I don't get back to you, I swear to you, and at some point I will, because it will be a pee under my mattress. But
I'm that way too.
Zoom works great for voice lessons.
Okay.
It works perfectly, because even if we were in person, if you play the guitar and someone isn't, if they're playing a D chord and there's you can go to them if you're in person and say, oh, see, you were muting the string, ding, and it plays. You can't do that through Zoom. You have to be like, no, see your middle finger, stand it up, you're touching. Guitar for a beginner is more challenging on Zoom, I find. But in voice, if you and I were in person doing voice, I can't physically manipulate the inside of your larynx anyway.
Right.
So it's trial, error, play, repetition, repeat, listening. I mean, you can certainly, manipulate someone's body cavity or whatever, help, but that's a little bit less consequential
Yeah,
than the
but then it
fact.
can become a whole Me Too thing, and then you have a
Yeah,
whole nother
I know
problem
that
going
that
on.
that ship has sailed. I know. Um, um, yeah, I'm gonna go on a string of like, write some bad puns, bad, limericks about this stuff. But voice lessons before the new era. But pre-woke, I probably started. Anyway, let's get back on point here. Point
Yes,
is, on Zoom, voice
yes.
lessons work great. Really,
Okay,
really
so
great.
let's get back to how do you, if somebody
Okay,
comes in and they're tone
so
deaf, what the hell do you do?
okay, so if someone is there's not a study that I know of that can physically measure, like if there are people that are physically colorblind, their rods
Okay,
and cones are set up differently, or in a different way that they don't see colors as we think,
right,
the same way other people do. So there's a physical thing of colorblindness. Then
right.
there's people like me
Okay,
who, I'm not colorblind, but if you ask my wife, I am, because if you were to show me, and she, a little bit in jest, but like if you were to show me the difference between fuchsia and magenta, I'd be like, they're pink. And she, or someone who's a designer, might be like, no, they're not. This is fuchsia. This is magenta. It's acknowledging the gradation between things and being able to
right.
pinpoint what makes them different, right? So if you're
Okay,
singing pitch, did you hear me go up there?
yeah.
Those could be perceived as two separately different notes, or they could be perceived as one sort of area of noteness. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of how discerning are you in your being able to hear the small differences, right? So friends of mine who have been teaching for say 30 plus years,
Okay.
a couple of times I've asked, how many people have you had in here that you think were actually tone deaf?
Ah,
And I've asked this a couple people kind of on purpose over the years.
hmm,
And we're talking people who've been teaching voice for 30 plus years who've seen,
right.
I don't know how do you calculate 10,000 students between them? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't know. But let's say, can we say a shit ton?
We
Got
can
a
say a shit
shit
ton.
ton of clients between them. And I've asked sort of just, so out of all the clients you've seen, how many would you think are actually tone deaf? And they would say, I don't know, maybe one or two. But a
Wow,
lot of
really?
people, right? And then there's another study I would get to. Someone else had done a study though where they think that maybe they call it amusia. There's a term called amusia. Maybe as much as 10% of people are amusical, or 5% or 3%, whatever it is. There's a large. You're putting me on the spot now. I'm totally blanking.
We're not going to hold you
Okay.
to
Well,
the
that's actually,
percentage.
since it's my trade, I should remember. But it's a presentation that we had done about 6 weeks ago. I'm just forgetting the percentages. But let's say 5% of people are potentially tone deaf, in a sense that maybe
Okay,
they don't hear the pitch difference doesn't resonate in the same way on the same
right.
calibration. A lot of those people might not be drawn to singing, therefore might not find their way into voice lessons in the first place. So the voice teachers skew on the amount of people might not be accurate to the real world. It's only accurate to the population who says, I really want to sing. This is important enough to find a private voice teacher.
Hmm.
How do you parse those demographics? That's a good question. But of the people that I know and the people that I've worked with on my own, I've had people come to me who, by all accounts, you may have thought were tone deaf or so. They sing in almost a monotone, and you like, uh, uh. But with patience and time and loving the process, I've absolutely had people who a year later 100% singing tunes and hearing the difference in pitches. But again, it's like, well, you would have to train me. Okay, is teal different than turquoise? You tell me, because I don't
Yes,
know.
it is.
I don't know that. To me, they are both turquoisey teal, right? You would have to sit with me honestly, and we'd have to be patient, and you'd have to sense of humor about it and enjoy the process for me to understand the difference of which one has more blue, which one has more green. I personally see them more in a, like, the bullseye isn't as pointed when my color differentiation. The
Interesting.
bullseye is a
So,
little more of a hand grenade
so
size.
Corel, let's
You
say
know?
you get, that's funny. Let's say you get somebody and they're off pitch when they come. How do you, how do you address it? I mean, you're not going to say, hey, you're out of tune. How do you keep someone feeling good about themselves and keep them moving forward when they've got some challenges that that they might not be aware of?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think that it's just about how you're looking at that metaphor, because everyone has challenges they're not aware of, and that's what we all have, blind spots, and that's probably, so it's a matter of to what
So
degree and
true.
what are they. So I think you look at it just like anything else, so
Well, how are you going to address it
you
with
can do
them?
different things. You can, first of all, you might want to start, for this is just hypothetical, every
Right.
case is probably gonna be different,
Of
but
course.
you might want to start with pitch matching closer to their natural speaking tone in the first place, where they're already doing it. Because if someone speaks down here,
Right.
hey, 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 but I'm hovering around a B. Blah, well, I'm not going to be like, oh no, oh no, didn't you get that? I mean, it might be more like, you just process. You want to do your best to start. Oh, my brother's calling me to tell me what the word is to get out of prison. Extrapolation. So we put him on the spot. I'll ghost him.
Tell him to ghost him.
Text me.
Tell him to text
I'm on
it.
TV.
Text it.
I'm on TV. Look at that face, being like, you don't ghost me.
Oh.
You don't ghost me.
Yeah, he looks scary to ghost.
I know. So you'd want to start with where they are doing
What they are doing.
and work from there.
In other words, what they're doing right. What they're doing right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And people learn better with, it's not just a be nice thing, but people learn better physically, neurologically, by reinforcing what they're doing and letting that
Absolutely.
inertia lead. So telling someone, nope, I don't talk like that in general.
Right.
But it's like, okay, let's do it like that one. Did you hear that one? That was it. Did you hear it? That was it. So
That's good. I like that.
and another thing that, by the way, people who are singing pitchy, a lot of times, what I've
Yeah.
noticed
Uh-huh.
is, say someone's playing a well, that's out of tune, that's sharp. Sometimes people will sing a little bit out of tune, and I think it's in an effort, because if you're right, perfectly in tune, the notes disappear into each other.
Huh.
So if you're singing to a track or with a band or with your guitar, if you're perfectly in tune, your voice might blend in a little bit because you're perfectly in sync.
I see.
Like riding in single file. Then you hear my voice, and we hear how it disappears. When it's more in tune, it blends into one thing, and that can be sort of, not even consciously, but I don't think consciously, but it can be maybe disorienting for someone to disappear into the thing, because then like, where'd I go? Sometimes I feel like people will who are new to it will sing a little bit off. Like my accordions are tuned to 442 usually instead of 440, 442, 443. Okay. Two theories on that. One was because that was just like before standardization, regions had their own pitch centers, but they still make accordions like that. When you play them in an ensemble, accordion being 2 cents sharp pops out of the ensemble a little bit more.
You're my second accordion. You're our second accordionist. In this Phil Parlapiano. Do you know Phil?
Mm-mm.
He's a wonderful accordionist, and he's like the go-to guy when they need an accordionist on TV and stuff. That you got to call. Well, you can play it though.
Well, see, yeah, but again, like I'll record my tunes and I'll add accordion on the bridge, but don't hire me for the polka, please. It's not going to happen. We're not going to do that. Okay. But accordion is great for morning radio shows where it's a one acoustic guitar. You bring your accordion, you got the bass and the chords there, two people singing. It's a great tool. But
interesting.
I'm no Weird Al. I'm just weird.
But I think it's really great though that people can hire you, especially to tour. That you are a multi-instrumentalist. You can fill so many spots. With one guy. They only got to pay the one guy instead
comes
of
in handy.
Yeah.
But as far as singing in tune, basically it's find the common ground, find where they're starting from, find music that the person loves and wants to keep. You have to be engaged. You just have to enjoy the process, and you have to find the right, maybe it's not the right word, but the right metaphor, the right tool for engagement.
Can you teach somebody how to harmonize, Korel? If
that is a challenge, but yeah, for sure.
Okay, not by giving them their part, but can you teach somebody to learn to find their part?
Yes, and that is, unless if someone has a surefire method out there, please let me know. I've done this with people quite a few times where like that's
Mhm.
the goal of our lessons. Um,
Oh.
and it's not a one size fits all thing in my experience. And I wish maybe I had a better way, but there's things about it. One is I'm a passionate about teaching ear training in general.
Uh-huh.
So I do have what I have like sort of my own standardized method, which came, of course, from Clem Roland, my high school teacher. But I've sort of codified what I use with people to teach ear training. So I have an
Mhm.
intervallic ear training method that I would use with people to differentiate, like so, up, 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 singing the note, knowing what like I'm singing. I know what note I want to hear before I play it. I can measure the distance, just intervals. It's it's just music stuff, right? But for someone who wants to sing harmonies and hasn't ever been able to harmonize, getting to understand the distances is huge. That's a good first step. And that's a long process, but that's first step. Then a lot of times people have trouble singing harmonies because as soon as they sing their part, as soon as the lead singer starts, they go right to them. It's like a magnet. So you have to sort of be able to. I would like to have people learn the lead part dead cold, learn a harmony part. It might be just maybe at first you are teaching them here's the part to this song.
Right,
Learn the harmony
right.
part and then be able to sing them both dead cold. And then you have to be when you play music, you have to listen. But you also have to be like a bulldog with what you're doing. You know what I mean? The drummer
Mhm.
who's great, they're solid, right? They're solid. They're listening to everyone around them. They hear someone rushing or messing around or playing a avant-garde solo. They're not unaware of that, but they're not following that person. They're bulldog. They're keeping it down. So a harmony singer has to be confident and like a train on the tracks with what they're doing, even while they're being aware of the other person. So there's many things going on. Um,
I like that
People that
explanation.
have challenges singing harmonies, I love teaching, but I've done it with people and someone would come over back before COVID. I had a person who was coming several times a week for sessions at my studio, and we would do 2 hour sessions. And on it, we would just pick a song, and he would learn the lead, he would learn the harmonies, and we would just like he would sing the harmony. I would start to quietly sing the lead. He would jump to me, okay, stop, or keep going, sing the harmony, and then we got to a point where he was confident enough where I could come in with the lead loud as him and he wouldn't get knocked off track. It was not a one stop shop process.
I
And
gotcha.
everyone's challenges with doing it might be different. So again, if anyone out there has a method for teaching harmonies, let me know because I would be curious what that is. I would love to learn it. But for me, it's been a process of okay, what is your challenge with it? And let's go piece at a time. And does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I'm thinking of myself, I sing what I know, what I hear, right? So if I've heard the harmony, I can sing the harmony because I remember it. I'm more likely to move towards the lead, right? Because I'm not a singer. So I've just pretended to be one on stage a few times, but it's not what I do. So I'm curious, is this something I could learn to do? Um,
Yeah.
on my own, once I'm trained. And so
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Mhm.
Again, we've started like 10 different tangential conversations,
We have.
each of which is its own lecture series by some accredited expert. So, you know, I take this not as me giving you answers as much as my perspectives on things that I'm still
That's all I'm interested in right now.
always learning about.
And I love that. And what we didn't do yet, Corel, and I don't know if you've thought of one yet, but we've done all this so far and you haven't even like sang a tune for us, which I think
Oh,
this would be a perfect time.
I don't like
No,
singing.
no, come on.
No.
So give us a Korel Tunador tune. This is Linda said this is a Corel's masterclass.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Hey, by the way, how long are we hanging, by the way?
I don't know. I
Okay,
don't
we
have
just do whatever we want.
limitations, but yeah, whatever we want.
Okay, what do we want? Okay. Like I was telling you, like I've been moving. I haven't been like I'm like,
So
oh wow, I've got songs. That's kind of fun.
so I know you're looking at your songs right now. I'll keep talking to you while you do that. So how has the move been? Is it a nightmare? Moving's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, let's keep it positive here. Come on now.
Okay.
Don't ask me about
All right, we won't talk about that.
that.
We won't
Oh,
go there. Well, say hi to Zoe Moon though. Zoe is the
oh,
reason
is
that
she here?
Corel and
Is she here?
I hope so. I don't, it doesn't show me who's on anymore. Facebook's
Okay.
by the way, would everybody who is with us right now, would you Put in the chat
Follow Zoe
if
Moon if you want an
definitely
astrologer.
follow Zoe Moon, the quintessential astrologer in the world.
Yeah, she's crazy good. It's crazy.
She's fabulous.
You don't
She's
even have
very,
to like or believe in astrology, but if you hire her for a session, you will believe in astrology. Put it that way.
yeah, she's, yes, she's, it's scary what she knows, what the Zoe knows and what she can see.
Yeah.
If you would let me know if you got a notification for this broadcast, because I'm Facebook fuckery is taking me down, and I just want to know if anybody, I know it only went to friends, so probably only if you're a friend of mine. And also, give some love to Korel. What there's like no like and love this, you people out there. Just do that. Gives Korel some love. And what was the other thing I was going to ask you guys? The question. I forgot. No tomorrow. Oh, no tomorrows. Marsha's asking for no tomorrows.
Aw, that's nice. I like that song.
I do too.
You know what's funny? Sometimes you
What?
record a song and you barely ever play it.
Yeah. Is there one that you is no tomorrow? Not no
Yeah.
tomorrows. Is really?
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what was that? What's that? The ballad song? Not the ballad song.
Oh, the Town of Artichoke. Yeah,
the Town of Artichoke. Oh my God! I used to always make you play that for me. I love that song.
that's good. 20 minutes, and
I know it's a long tune. We fucking like and love this word. So, well, I don't mean just don't tell me that you're liking and loving it. Like and love it on the thing. Click the thing so Korel gets the love, and let me know if you got a notification. And if you aren't my Facebook friend, if you got a notification, which I don't think that's possible. So Korel,
yeah.
while you're looking for a tune so when you were first hired, your first professional gig, what were you hired as, and what band was it?
You mean like back in college or back in LA, or
what was the first time that you got paid to be a musician? You were joining a band, you were getting paid. What instrument were you hired to play, and what band was it?
The first time I was paid to play
Yeah.
would have been, some mediocre subpar performance jazz gig in Boston or in Pittsburgh. I used to play gigs in Pittsburgh, and I'm saying that I was a kid. Like
Right.
like mediocre in that way. Like I certainly was not going to be going on tour anytime soon, but it was, hey, our band's playing, let's book a gig at the bar. And so I was lucky always, especially back in Pittsburgh, like I had a generation of people ahead of me who were not just my teacher,
Right.
but the people who were my brother's ages who were gigging, you know what I mean? Who would say, hey, yeah, you play, let's come play some gigs. So I'd be like, oh, cool, I got to learn 20 songs. I'll go play some solos. So I would play jazz gigs, and, I couldn't even tell you what we would have made. Maybe I made $20, maybe I made $50. I don't even remember. It would have been irrelevant,
Right.
But
the first time that you played, and it was like, this is a professional,
yeah,
like a step up from just like a little gig.
Well, I mean, for those have been a step up from me not playing gigs. So they certainly were life and death.
No, they count.
They were. I mean, you take each gig as life or death. You know what I mean? Like, this is the only thing that exists, and this is real. I don't care. I was having this conversation with a client the other day too. Gosh, what was the context? But I have a client who is he on Gibson Musicisco? He's freaking ridiculously good, and he is, I think, 16.
Wow.
And he played a gig. He's played a few gigs, and he played a gig that was really well attended. And then he just played a gig the other day at like an arts thing outside, and he said, well, I mean, there was really no one there, so whatever. It wasn't like, I was like, no, that is the shit.
Absolutely.
Playing gigs when you're starting, every gig is do or die. And he played, I know I wasn't there, but I know he played his heart out. It was do or die. Just destroy the audience, even if there's only 3 of them, and you play gigs like that coming up, and by the time you've played 100 gigs, you've had 100 glitches that next time they come up, they're not raising your adrenaline. You're like, oh, that again. Yeah, the monitor went out. I'll just listen to the mains. All these things. So people getting invaluable experience. It doesn't, the gigs I played when I was that age were just as important because they were always one step ahead of what I was doing before,
Right,
so
right.
Every gig is pretty darn important, whatever your level.
I didn't mean to undermine the importance. Wait, before we continue with your career, play something.
Oh gosh, okay.
Play
Honestly,
something.
to tell you the truth, I will pretend like, again, just like whenever the truism, if you're gonna play like like it's life or death if no one's watching. Well,
Right.
I mean, you kind of have to be cavalier when lots of people are watching too. That's easier said than done.
Mhm.
So I honestly don't know what to play, and I wasn't even I was just teaching all day, and let's see here.
So while you're figuring it out, so wait, you're getting a lot of love here. Judy Williams says she loves you.
Oh,
And
she's my mother-in-law. That's why.
look at
She's
that.
contractually obligated.
Good gig.
All right, so here, check it out. Here's a song.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Since all I can see is you, I'll pretend there's no one here because I swear I haven't played. This is just a song. I like it because I like the words. I haven't played this song in probably a decade,
Wow.
but it was from my old band. I wrote this, I don't remember like when, a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I honestly, I will be surprised if I remember it, but who cares? How's that sound?
It sounds great. And I'm going to go away because I'm going to make you the full screen right now.
Oh,
So
dear
everyone can
Lord.
see. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's this song, and then we're just gonna play one song and then come back. Is that what we do?
Yeah, we're going to play one song
Okay.
and come back.
So I'm just playing this because it's short and it's rather concise. It's called Total Surprise. All right. Let me know when, Vicky. You count me in. One, two, three,
One,
four.
two. Yeah. Look at that.
All right.
You can count you in. I can't count you in.
Yeah, you can. You can
No.
count, you can count me
I
in.
don't
Just
have
don't.
my.
You can count me in. Just don't count me out. All right. Let's see here. It's Total Surprise, which is what this is going to be. How's that? That's apropos, right? Just stood up, probably. As strange as it seems, we have all come before you. Each of us went in our own variations. Things don't change, but the people who hold things change their attention spans. As strange as it seems, you have not lost your patience. You do quite well in most situations. If each of us went on our own vacations, how many would go to work? And we all look out in total surprise, and most of us can't without shading our eyes. There to focus and not just on size. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. Pretend you are climbing a sandstone canyon, a root breaks off, you find yourself hanging, your handhold crumbles, you find yourself falling. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. We all look out in total surprise. Most of us can't without shading our eyes. Oh yeah, to focus and not just on size. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. Blazing guitar solo, you know, all that stuff. Even though you're undernourished and overloaded, get off your ass before you get demoted. You're close to an answer, but it's still encoded. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. We all look out in total surprise. Most of us can't without shading our eyes. Better focus and not just on size. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. Whisper it over, it is the way it is. Whisper it over. There you go.
Okay, see, it was a total surprise what the end of the song was because I got it wrong once. That was great, Korel. We're gonna have you play more. So you
That was a ditty. Just a ditty.
It was a good ditty. Hold on to that guitar while we're here, and we'll have more of that in a little bit. Somebody just asked, is it possible to learn to play the piano at 68?
Who is that? And is that a rhetorical question? course it
That's
is.
Terry Wagner. It's somebody who might actually want to do it, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah, then of course it is. Is it possible? I mean, barring any physical restrictions, of course.
Yeah.
If you want to
Okay.
get into a conversation of neuroplasticity, then I would suggest that it is still absolutely. We might have things that are more easily done, like language centers, which is very
Mm,
relevant to musical development when you're of a certain age that I think starts to solidify around age 7 or so. But
mm.
it doesn't mean that it goes away. And the same reason that music is good for Alzheimer's patients, anything that music and neural plasticity can always be improved. It's the more you exercise the motion. You're always myelinating new pathways and building neural connections. Yes.
It's interesting that you said that my father had Alzheimer's and he was a singer. That was his trade. And he remembered every word to every song. Couldn't
Oh,
remember,
interesting.
you
Yeah.
know, uh, my name some at the end, but he could remember every word to every song.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't.
Well, every song that he knew, everything
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
his repertoire. Okay, so
Oh,
all
I
right, I'm
can't.
gonna
I can't. I can't. You know what's funny? I've done a lot of like work on in my life on okay, learn this. Boom. I can learn things so quickly,
wow.
even compared to people I work with. Like oh, boom, and then once something's locked in my memory, I can
Yeah.
sometimes play songs that were in bands a decade ago and just pick them up and play them. But that short term, that middle term is like boom. I'll learn something dead center, and then 5 minutes later, I'll be like, "What have we met?" And then it takes me. Then once it gets locked in, I have it. But there's that medium term memory. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible.
That's interesting. Do you have a trick, a secret for learning quickly? Do you have a method to your madness?
I don't know. Nothing that I could think of to just studying the components, just studying the individual components. As far as learning, interval ear training, rhythmic ear training, a lot of time transcribing melodies on an instrument helps.
Mhm.
Components that go into it. You know.
Okay. All right. So let's get back. You've dodged my question a couple
Oh,
of times.
geez.
I'm going to keep hitting until you get it, till you answer it.
Yeah, but how are you? Let's talk about that. No. What's the question?
So, okay. So I'm wearing the wrong earrings. I'm not wearing gray ear. I don't know what's going on. I was going to wear a sweater because it's September. It's too hot. Anyway, you're playing all kinds of gigs, and yes, they're all important, and they all
Oh, okay.
they all have impact. What's the first gig that takes you to the next level? The first one that you're going from little clubs to big venues,
Okay, that. Okay, so yeah.
the
So
life-changing stuff.
so let's just say that when I was young and playing those gigs, that's a real bar. I'm like a 16-year-old kid playing in a bar. Like, okay, that
It's
was real for me.
huge.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
huge.
then when I went to Boston, I would do my local whatever gigs, whatever, and then one of the bands I would got in, I started playing real club gigs around there. Maybe we traveled to Ithaca, traveled to New York, traveled here, traveled. So we was doing real shows like that, still bars, and maybe some festivals, playing original music, which is huge. So actually made a living in an original band back in the Boston days, that's pretty real.
Where were you
Even though
go? Where did you go to school, Corel?
I went to Berkeley for
Yes, of
music
course you did.
back in the day.
Yes.
So again, that was another step up. Okay, we're playing. Did anyone outside of the few college scenes and different bar? No, of course it didn't. That band didn't break nationally, but it was a
Okay.
step up as far as
Yes.
we owned a van. Well, JT, our drummer, he had the van. He had the van. We had a house. We rehearsed in the basement. We would play clubs and bars regionally. We made a living. So bam, that
Right.
was huge. Then I played in another band that was more of a jam band that we toured Maine down to DC, out in Colorado. And then I moved back to Pittsburgh, and artistically, those bands were a big deal. Basically, in Boston, playing saxophone, you don't need a car. You take your horn,
Oh, right.
you're going, you're going. The
Right.
acoustic
Right.
guitar. By the time I was playing guitar with an amp and stuff, our band had a vehicle. So I still didn't have a car. I was like, okay, I'm done with Boston. I'm going to move either to Colorado or LA. I'd better be able to get there. So that's the reason I went back to where I grew up, and I moved to the actual city where I met this whole scene of creatives.
Mhm.
And the whole goal was to just save a car to head out west. I was saved to buy a car. But within the
Yeah.
first year, I was playing in so many of the coolest bands would have ever imagined.
Wow.
Like, jazz freak out this, singer songwriter this, backing up my friend's singer songwriter this, doing my own rock. So the creative scene was incredible. So I stayed there for several years because it was just too good not to leave musically. And
Uh-huh.
eventually, so those bands were a step up artistically, and we
Right.
were doing real stuff again. I was making a living playing music and all these different gigs. I was doing some of my
Okay,
songs.
wait a minute. Did you ever have to have a job?
Oh yeah, I've done other stuff, bunch of stuff too. I mean, I worked at a guitar store. I taught some guitar. I've done, tons of stuff. But so then when I moved to LA, that would be the first, like I mean, you're freaking Hollywood. Come on now. I know what you mean. You mean name above title, right? You mean like, yeah. So
This is Game Changers. Come on.
oh, you're right. You're right. You're
They
right.
want the
Yeah, yeah,
credits.
yeah. They want some pizzazz. So yeah. So then I moved to LA and I started. I got a call. My sister and brother-in-law who are here. They're in the music scene, and they introduced me to the guy who sets up a lot of auditions. So basically, I got called. Hey, do you want to audition for some band? And I ended up getting the gig, and I would keep getting gigs. And so those small tours. There was a guy named Charlie Mars, wonderful singer-songwriter, who I got through like the LA audition scene. And
Uh-huh.
so we did a tour. Again, you might not know Charlie, but he's made some great records. That was a professional step up, even though you haven't met
Yes.
him yet. But you should seek him out. He's down in Mississippi now, I believe. Great songwriter. We slogged it out hard in the van, supporting his record. But we were opening for REM. We were doing some TV stuff at the time, so that was real. It was a good, So I was doing, even though, and then I auditioned. I ended up doing the Jada Pinkett gig on Ozfest, which was a whole from playing keyboards with the Mississippi singer-songwriter to playing guitar in a metal band on Ozfest. And then that was real. Ozfest is a big summer tour. That band, only lasted a year, but it was a significant tour.
How'd you get that gig, Corel?
That was the last gig I really got through the audition scene here in LA. That was through the same guy, Barry Squire. Well, you're in LA, Lauren. Everyone knows Barry. Barry's like freaking staple of town. He's awesome. I forget that you're my neighbor. You're like just across the hill here. I just know he's
Not anymore.
So everyone in LA knows Barry Squire, who's sort of has had the Rolodex forever. He's a sweet, awesome, wonderful guy. He just would. Oh, you need a drummer and a keyboard player? Sure, I'll set up the audition, and it'll. So I got a few gigs. He was sweet enough to call me back, and I ended up getting a few gigs, so he would at least know. Oh, maybe I'm a. Not you can't get every gig because you don't know if the person needs
Right.
what their flavor is, what the vibe is. But I was getting more gigs than I wasn't getting as far as through auditions.
Right.
Mainly just because probably empathy, actually taking it seriously. Like if someone would hire me for an audition and if they learn these 3 songs, I would learn the entire 2 records and be able to show up and play any song at the rehearsal and know all the parts.
Smart.
So I was kind of that guy.
Right.
I know a few of my friends are like that, and they're working,
Right.
But so then after the guy Charlie Mars, his management company was the same management company that was working with Goo Goo Dolls. So a couple years later, just from having done a gig that was real but
Right.
didn't develop where they wanted it to. Charlie's a wonderful songwriter, but it was just the music business is what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
He had some bad shakes through the the record label that he was on, and whatever. But his talent was legit, right? So it's
Right.
just creative in the business, different intersections. So, but the management company had remembered me doing a decent job in front of a different scene. So when they needed someone, my name was just put into the short list for that, which is again. And then whenever I did the Katy Perry thing, that was again. It was an audition, I guess, but I wasn't like a cattle call. It was, they called me, hey, do you want to come down and jam? And I think they may have worked with a few other people on auditions, but to me, it was just like, sure, I'll go down and jam. Let's go down and jam. And of course, I learned all the songs and learned every part I could, even if it was a keyboard. Like, so I would know, like, if they were in rehearsal, if we're in audition, and say, oh, you know what? No, we don't need that part covered. Play this. I was like, okay, and I knew it. So you know what I mean? So I just spent
Right.
hours to learn 3 songs for an audition. I might spend 40 hours learning the entire record on keyboards and guitars, best as I could, and all the harmony parts. And so I would just over prepare to the best of my ability. So hers was an actual audition, Katie's gig, but it didn't. It felt like more like, hey, let's just come jam. Because I think another trick to auditioning is knowing that there could be any reason it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Not to take it personally.
not
Is that
taken
where you're
personally.
going? Mhm.
Therefore, don't go into it with any caring, as best as you can.
Expectation. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole thing. Prepare like it's your gig already, and then
Mhm.
go into jam. Just have fun. as best as you can, you know?
I think
So
that's great advice.
yeah. And then, I met Rob Thomas because we had done a whole summer with Goo Goo Dolls with opening for Matchbox 20. So, and, and he and his whole scene are just wonderful. So I was on a year of building the voice coaching when they asked me to do the tour, and it was just too awesome not to do. It was great work. Obviously, on a business level, it was great work, but also creative. So that wasn't an audition per se as much as, they asked me if I was available and wanted to, but it was all tributaries developed from, you know, over preparing for a gig that you wouldn't have heard of.
So somebody just asked, Linda just asked how the Goo Goo Dolls came up with their name. Do you know?
Yeah, there's different anecdotes. Honestly, it's escaping me a little bit, but she must not be a fan because any super fan probably would have heard this.
No, she's
That's
not a
like,
super fan.
okay, that's like the question that is like the question
Is
of
it?
every single interview. Where'd you come up with the name? Like, oh God, that question again. I think they were at the time, young punk rock band. You know, is the Goo Goo Dolls any more left field than the Sex Pistols? It's both like inappropriately named. Like a Goo Goo Dolls is a very silly, frilly name for a seriously thrashy bucket. So it was it was just like a, hey, here's some few names that they're all outrageously juxtaposed on the music we're playing,
Right.
and it stuck basically. They can correct me on the anecdotes of that, but it's basically it was not thought out too much at the time because it was a perfect punk rock band name. You know.
So it sounds to me, Corel, like it doesn't really matter to you whether you're playing in a little tiny club or playing in a festival to a ton of people. For you, it's the music, it's the collective experience, it's
Yeah,
all of
well,
that.
let's say this. The perfectly artistic thing is to say, yeah, I don't care about working for a living. I just want to follow my muse. I wouldn't quite go that far with it,
Right.
but I will say that I've done so much work in music
Mhm.
that I'm not in this point in my life. I'm not saying forever. Like playing with Rob is different. That is a love, even though it's a great business job and a high profile job.
Right.
I swear, and it pays. It's a gig. It's a professional gig. I
Right.
promise you that is done for the love.
That's so
That's why I
great.
love it. That's why I love playing with them.
Do you
But
do you feel a kindred spirit with is there a kindred connection between you and Rob? What is it
well,
about
I
that
mean, why
makes
don't
it
you
a
ask him?
love
Let's
gig?
let's call him up. No, I mean there absolutely is, and no offense to him, but not just him. It's seated with him because it's his
Right.
sphere,
Right.
but he's the type of person that all of the people in the sphere, the whole band, have a very familial
Nice.
spot for. So,
Mhm.
of course, I'm not saying it's not just Rob. It is just Rob because he's the one who created that ecosystem
Right.
or invited the people in and had the discernment to know who would be the right vibe, right? But all of the people in his musical ecosystem that I've been spending time with, yeah, absolutely, I love for sure.
Okay,
Um,
so there's someone
but
on that's okay. Go ahead. I
I was just going
didn't
to
mean
say
to
that
interrupt.
I was going to say that I've also worked so many paid jobs in music that I'm not being contrary. I'm saying that like I moved up to Ojai where LA is now an hour away, which is
Right.
nothing. It's nothing. That's
Mhm.
the same traffic from my old house to LAX as it would be from here to my old
Right.
house. It's nothing. But people up here are definitely it's not an industry town. There's so many creatives and people in the industry, but you're not going to get a gig in Ojai because hey, I'm making a living playing. It's an adjunct thing,
Right.
and to me, that's actually a breath of fresh air. So yes, like I'm not concerned about going out. It sounds like I'm tempting the universe to fail. Like I'm not saying that. I'm not. Of course, I want to play for real shows and big things and make a living. Of course, I love it. But I'm saying like I'm loving voice teaching so much that my playing music is able to be a little more creatively precious and less
Nice.
and less business precious about it. Like I don't, you know what I mean? So I'm
Mhm.
I'm just it's who knows where things will be in 6 months to 2 years to 10 years, but that's where I am right now.
Okay.
I'm enjoying loving music because I love it and reigniting that aspect of it, which is the kindling that ignites the bigger flames anyway. So it's fine. It's a pulse of breathing, I think.
And I love that you have that passion for what you're doing because I think that's everything. That's how things because what you're feeling is going to transfer to your students and it's going to have a ripple
Yeah,
effect, which is
I'm
fantastic.
probably I'm probably a good place as a voice coach in that I've been playing music, sure, for 20, 30 years professionally, all these things. I don't even know how long it'd be in, like 50 years, 70 years. I don't know, 10 years. It's been a while. Um, so I have all of these experiences musically, and I
Right.
guess hopefully some seasoning and, you know, grizzled, world weary perspectives on it that are very real world. But my actual voice coaching, I have come from an experienced place musically,
Mhm.
but my coaching is still a new enough pursuit that I feel like a high school kid at the football game. I'm just like, yeah, you fucking did you hear that shit?
That's so
I
great.
love it.
That's so
It's
great.
truly fun.
It's fantastic. And we've talked mostly about that, but I want to talk for a few minutes about the different amazing gigs that you've had that the people who are watching have seen you play on and what it was like. So you talked about the Jada Pinkett Smith thing and shredding. You were actually the first person that I think you taught me the word shredding years ago. So that was a very different gig for you. So how was it playing that? Did you enjoy playing that music? Was it a
Oh
paycheck?
yeah.
What?
Oh well. Oh, I mean, it was a paycheck and a real job, but
Mhm.
I enjoyed it more playing it more than that wouldn't be the type of music that I go out and buy. Like I
Right.
don't listen to super aggressive, heavy, odd time signature, detuned death metal, for example. But there was really high level of musicianship in that band,
Hmm.
and it was very intellectually stimulating. And
Wow.
the drummer Fish from he was in the band Fishbone forever. He was the drummer. He's like my big brother. I've learned so much from the musicians in that band that were all
Uh-huh.
again a generation ahead of me, and they were extremely proficient. And Jada is like super clear eyed, very present and chill and awesome. So I learned a lot. So I felt like again I was just getting paid to have a wonderful experience.
Fantastic. Was that the first band that you played like a huge venue for with? Did you
Um,
play big
yeah.
venues with?
Well, with my other band, the other bands I've done, I mean, everyone has a festival every so often. I mean, I've done big stages,
I mean,
but
Katy Perry, you had to do
yeah, well,
major.
this was a few years, but Jada's thing was a
Right.
few years before
Right.
her.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Was Jada the first one that
Well,
you
yeah, it was the
hit
first one
big
where it would be,
stages?
yeah, it was the first one where it would be guaranteed thousands every single day. Yeah.
Hmm. Did
Um,
did any gig you ever, I'm going to go out of order here, but did it ever take your breath away? Like, did you ever walk out on the stage and go, holy fuck, just looking out at what was in front of you?
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. I'm pretty grizzled right now, but let me think of this. Yeah, yeah. Like well, for example, like some of the KD gigs. Interestingly enough, like I find it harder to play. I think you and I have talked about this to play a small group than I do a large group.
Right.
So when you
My
see,
living room is more traumatic than.
oh my gosh, that's terrifying. Kevin Walt, our good friend from Blue, Kevin
Yeah.
Walt, I played as he walked down the aisle, and
Oh.
oh my gosh, I was so drippingly, shakingly nervous. Oh my gosh.
That's
Or
fabulous.
actually, I should say this. I played as his wife walked down the
Oh.
aisle. He was
Dun, dun, dun.
stationary. He was stationary, giving me the stink eye. You better not mess up. Kevin's really mean. But
You
no.
weren't
So,
playing the bridal march
well, I was
thing.
playing acoustic guitar and singing. I was playing guitar. So anyway, I was.
What did you play when she walked down the aisle?
They wanted a Goo Goo Dolls song that they liked, so I played a Goo song. Anyway,
Wow.
so yeah, that makes me much more nervous. When you like with some of the Katy gigs, we were doing like festivals, especially in the UK and stuff, maybe like 100, 120,000 people, but it's really
Oh
not
my
that
God.
intimidating because it's
Really?
just like a huge big party. They're just like, and you see the faces of the first maybe 20, 30 people, and not like that cliche, I didn't even see the audience. Yes, you see the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Even in any outdoor show, you see the audience no matter what time of day. At night in an arena, if they black out the lights just right, it's hard to see. But you have to, your stage lights still bleed. You see the audience. I mean, you see 20, 30 rows back as a normal
Right,
seat.
right,
But I'm
right.
saying it becomes a they, and you're playing the gig on stage with your friends at that point. You know what I mean? Whereas
Right.
if I play for just you and your friends, it's like, oh, there's 20 people. I know all of them. They're all people I respect, and they're all watching. I'm about to mess. I just messed up because I was thinking too hard. I think that happens. Whereas if you play for just an absurd number of people, Hey.
Okay, so how about like, did you ever do like a Katy show or a Goo Goo? I'm thinking probably happened more with the Goo Goo Dolls, where you would play a show and then like a hero of yours would be in the audience and come back
Oh
and
yeah.
what happened like
Well,
that?
I was gonna say one of the things that made me very nervous, like once you like anything, you do a new thing, you're nervous. It takes the repetition as you repeat things. This is
Right,
physiological. Your adrenaline
right,
spike therefore gets less and less and less. You become more acclimated.
right,
So the Goo Goo Dolls was the first band I'd done that it was okay. We're doing an album cycle. There's going to be 12 late night TV show appearances. I'm just making up a number, right?
right.
So I remember the first time doing Conan O'Brien, I was like, oh, this is I'm nervous. Like I was like, because it wasn't even like there's this many people watching. It was like the stakes of it was just like 200 people in the studio audience, but you're like, oh,
Right.
50 million people.
But you did a
And
lot of those. You've done like
right.
every TV
And then
thing,
when
right?
you do about a dozen, I'm not saying I'm some
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, oh, sure, I'll play for the president. I played for Mrs. Obama, but I did two gigs at the inauguration when Barack came in the second time, actually. But
Wow.
I did one with Goose and one with Katie in the same day. It was kind of funny. It just worked out that way. And
Wow.
Michelle and the kids were at the one with Katie. That was pretty cool. But what I'm trying to say is that
You
I
mean
was like,
the Obamas were not Goo Goo Doll fans?
well, there was many events. I don't know. They probably. I can't speak. I can't
I'm
speak.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't want to go down say the wrong thing to anybody. But that's just the one that they were at. But there. I remember like being adrenalized to the point that I was like, oh wait, oh okay, and so it's like the most important thing at a gig like that, especially as I was younger,
Right.
and experiential, is like, don't fuck up. Press the right buttons, play the right notes. Johnny's singing. I don't have to carry the vibe. My job there is to press the right buttons, get the job done. So then you do enough of those, you do 20 or 30 TV shows, it's just at that point, it's another gig and you know the drill, you know what to expect. So I've been nervous for gigs like that, especially, and then you do
That
enough
makes
of them.
your friend Doug says that you played for Nelson Mandela in
Yeah.
South Africa. What was
Yeah.
that about?
That was awesome. It was the is it 46664 the foundation his foundation down there. It was freaking awesome. We flew down there. They had a stadium gig every year.
You flew
and
down with
that was the Goo Goo Dolls
the
gig.
Goo Goo Dolls?
Yeah, and Peter Gabriel played that day. Like,
Jesus.
yeah, it was.
Okay, so that's like my next question. Like when you're on a bill with like people like Peter
We
Gabriel,
did a gig in Long Island, and Billy Joel was there in the audience. Like you're like, oh shit, Billy. Luckily he was schnockered. I think that day we got to say hi to him. But yeah, there's been some gigs like with Jada. We played at the Viper Room, and Tom Cruise was right there because they were buddies. Like so. But at the same time, as much as he's a megastar, is he going to critique my guitar playing as one?
No,
piece?
of course.
So whatever,
Yeah, no.
I mean, whatever. But what was the question?
Yeah, but
though?
what about if like an unbelievable guitar player is like, I'm trying to think of like one of your heroes is in the audience, and
Well, I mean, I got to play one of the gigs we did with Katie. I don't think he paid attention though. Was when we did the Euro MTV Awards. It was in Liverpool, so Paul McCartney was a guest of honor. So we played with her. We also, because she was one of the few artists who wanted to have a live band.
right,
We did we were the house band, so we would play. It was like the award show in the arena where
right.
now so and so let's play these. We would play the walk on and walk off. We did like the late night TV show band and played with her because she was hosting. That's why basically.
Right.
So I got to meet Paul McCartney briefly, just long enough to know that he is a real person,
Wow.
and that was freaking mind. So stuff like that, yeah.
So Paul isn't dead.
Not that version of him wasn't. Yeah, no, he seemed very, very, very real.
You're
No,
too young to know the whole Paul is dead thing.
No, of course I know it all. Of course I
Okay.
know it all, and I believed it for a minute when I was a kid.
So did
too.
I. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
But yeah, we did like with Katie. We used to cover a Queen song, and one time we played at the Apollo or Brixton Academy, one of those English gigs, and Brian May was there, and he was hanging out with us. It was very cool.
Wow.
But again, I don't think that was nerve-wracking per se, because honestly, I was just one part of a group, and
Right.
I don't think someone like that, especially talking to him, he wasn't going there to critique. He was going there, oh, I'm so nice, you played one of our tunes, that sort of thing. There's certainly been instances that have made me nervous and self-conscious, of course, because that's me. Like heck.
Okay, so I have to ask you for Anne, who's on the show and who is a fan. I know you played with Hanson. What was the circumstance of that?
Well, I almost played with Hanson. They were super
But
cool.
you recorded with them, didn't you?
No, I didn't record them. Remember when I mentioned the guy Barry Squire who does the auditions? That's the
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
gig he ever. I got into LA, and
Yeah.
like a month or two later, um, oh, so yeah, I got your number, and I don't know, we haven't met. I don't know what kind of music you do or listen, but this band, Hanson, is looking for someone. So we're doing auditions this Saturday. Are you interested? And I was like, of course I'm interested, because I need to work. I'm in LA.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
moved here, right? So I went to the audition,
Mhm.
and the dudes were so fun. Their audition. You should meet Pete Griffin, by the way, my bass player friend. You should meet him. He and I were among the people who auditioned for this gig. They needed a bass player and a multi guy. And
Okay.
so the audition was, we just hung out on stage, and they would teach us a song by ear. And how well do we learn it by ear? And that's kind of what I've was ear trained. I'm pretty good learning by ear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, but so we learned a bunch of songs and just jammed. It was just a jam session. It was a very informal audition. So anyway, I got the gig, and I flew out to Oklahoma, and we rehearsed every day for a month. So me and my buddy Pete Griffin, one of the best bass players, hands down. You would love his story. He's got some cool stories. He's done
Cool.
a lot of. He was in Zappa, plays Zappa. He does a lot of the big guitar tours. So he was the hired bass player. I was the hired multi guy, and then
Right.
Zach Ike and Taylor. And we rehearsed for a month. And right at the end, we're supposed to go on tour. My first tour, my first gig, whatever. And their record deal imploded, and they were like, "Oh, okay, head back to LA. It's going to be a month before we actually head out." We're like, "Okay." We went back to LA. And, oh, what's happened? It's a week late. Oh no, it's going to be about another 3 or 4 weeks. So 6 months later, that was when they had gone their whole record. So now, I mean, they're not sweating it. They started their own thing. They just took matters in their own hands. They're fine. They have their own label. Whatever they do, they didn't lose. I'm sure they lost sleep over it at the time, but
Right.
they didn't lose their internal fan base or momentum. They're doing whatever they're doing. So I rehearsed for a tour with them every day for a month, and the tour never happened. So yeah, that was
Wow.
my first gig, but I never actually played in public with them.
But wow. But you were impressed with them, weren't you?
I was impressed with them.
I
Yeah.
seem to recall you telling me that there was like a deeper meaning to the song Bop.
Oh yeah, I just thought that was awesome because I was impressed with them because they're genuinely nice dudes. They're genuinely very family centered. All the cliches about them, sing to
But also good musicians, no?
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm not slagging
Yeah.
one area by pumping up another one. Actually, Zach Hanson is a ferocious drummer,
Yes.
and he's such a
That's
good
where I was
singer.
trying to get you to go. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's amazing.
Mhm.
But yeah, oh yeah. And Umbop is
Bop.
amazing.
Yeah.
That was what I was impressed with was when they were kids, like 8, 10, and 12 years old. Of
Mhm.
all the songs on their first record that were, industry heavy hitting, co-writes, producing, that song they wrote themselves. It's just a 3-chord song, but it's kind of cool that an Umbop is a measure of time. Like in an Umbop you're here and an Umbop you're gone is what their whole 10-year-old
Wow.
world view was. And I always thought that was pretty insightful for them
That is pretty cool.
kids at the time.
It is pretty cool. All right, Korel. So we've been talking for a while. Wow, we've been talking for a really long time.
Yeah.
But
Anyone
before-
there?
Yes, and there are still people with us. So before we go, Robert Park says, "Good to hear your voice."
Oh yeah, man.
Um,
How are you doing?
And but you got to take us out with a song. So I'm going to challenge you again to go through that list of yours and figure out what you want to play.
Okay. What do you want? You want upbeat, don't you? All my songs that I really seem to play a lot.
No, I had suggested that when we start the show, but you didn't
Yeah.
play at the top of the show. Now you can play
Yeah.
whatever you want.
How about
Whatever
this?
makes you happy. Tuning. We love tuning. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, a little drop D. This song is called Breaker. I'll just play it because I like it. I know it. It's pretty.
Good reason.
How's that? I always seem to write songs. It's just some kind of archetypal thing with the sort of ocean imagery. I don't know why that is, but it is. Was it mixed all right, by the way? Could you hear everything? I wasn't blowing you out.
I can hear everything.
Taste a breaker, sudden death, a panoramic cut around. Oh, to be a a sky chair maker. Hold your breath, there's bound to be a letdown. Oh, too seasoned of a wind-drenched boat who can barely float on its own. Well, your cracks don't show, but you already know you're going down. Pass the lighter. There's supposed to be a fog rolling into town. At least I heard it from a shore survivor who's positive the worst has yet to come down. Poor timing to be a wind-drenched boat who can barely float on its own. Well, your cracks don't show, but you already know you're going down. Down, they barely show, but they're still there, you know. They barely show. Spare me the poem. Taste a breaker, you'll make it back to safety after all. Maybe later you'll think it was the greatest gift of all to spend a measure as a wind-drenched boat who can barely float on its own. Well, you made it in with a breath of wind all your own. A wind-drenched boat who can barely float on its own. Well, your cracks don't show, but you already know you're going down. Taste a breaker, sudden death, a panoramic cut around.
I got to put myself back in here so I can applaud.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, that was so beautiful. Okay, so
Thanks.
let's tell people, how can they find your music? How can they find you to take voice lessons? Tell us how to find you.
Well, the lucky thing is my name is so, let's say, singular that if you Google
Yes.
me, there's only one of me.
There is
Anywhere.
only one.
It's really handy. Thanks, Pops.
Where did you get your name? How did your
Um,
parents come up with Korel?
Well, it's a Turkish name, but it's not a very common name either. There's only, there's only one Tunador family in the world, actually. It's only ours, yeah. So
No kidding.
if you find anyone with my last name, that's one of my relatives.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, so all they have to do is Google you, and
Oh
then
yeah, I'm on any of the social medias. My stuff's on Spotify. I have a record and an EP out there. And just KorelTunador.com. Send me an email.
So from your website, they can contact
Yeah,
you to get
of
vocal
course.
lessons and
Of
stuff.
course, yes.
Because
Thanks.
I think you have a few takers on here today.
Yeah, and any social media stuff, and it's fun. If in all seriousness, as far as that goes,
Mhm.
I freaking love it. It's so much fun. Let's do it. Let's come on. Let's do it. And I mean
Okay,
you
I
too,
love
Vicky.
it.
Let's do it. Come on. It's super fun.
I
Really
want to
fun.
learn. I want to learn how to sing
Cool
harmony.
thing
That's
about
I.
singing, the cool thing
Mhm.
about singing is that people were singing and playing percussion before there was thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years before there was speech. It's part of
Wow.
what we do.
Wow.
And when you look at it in the way that I've been sort of, I don't like to use the word trained, but let's say trained is meaning the way I've become aware of it and
Yes.
people that I've learned from.
Mhm.
Let's say the training. When you look at it and come from a more sort of as best as you can empirical basis of there's cause and effect, causality, physiologically what's going on acoustically, it opens up the door to look at it as a really good mind body awareness sort of discipline. And I love it.
I love it.
It's
Steve Lee
really,
says, "Sign me up." We're
oh,
gonna hold
dude.
you to that, Steve.
Yeah.
Um,
You know my name. Look up the number. Anyway, he knows. That was for you, Vicky.
Anyway, I love you, Korel. Thank you so
Oh, love
much for
you too.
doing this.
Thank
I know
you.
you're in the middle of crazy moving and all of that stuff,
Awesome.
but it's so great to spend time with you. I've
You
missed you.
too. If
And
we didn't have a gig, when would we see each other? That's the way the world is, you know?
well, no, because I'm going to come up to Ojai. I'm going to come see you up there. And I love
All
you.
right.
I love you
Thank you.
lots. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right. I'll
See you
talk to you
soon,
later.
Korel. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. See you next